Well, we're back. It's day 2. Car's on the rack. We're not too happy. Yeah, this car is not going to be fixed. We're trying to maybe get you guys an answer still, but can I put it up? You want to show me?
Yeah, sure. So I put it up in the air because I was trying to find the crank sensor, which is behind the starter shield, and it's like you can't see it, but I could touch it and it's not loose.
Okay.
And then I decided, well, I'll just graph it. Maybe it's real hashy, but I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And then I looked over here.
Oh my goodness.
And then I looked at the crack underneath it. That crack's running the whole way down here.
Here, pull that light back because it'll whitewash the camera. Yeah, perfect, right there.
And
look at that.
Like
look at
roll
that.
underneath here, you can see the crack rolling through, and that's like right where the steering rack is, and then the control arm bolts right here. So when that snaps, it needs a subframe.
It needs a subframe. That's so bad.
Look at even the oil pan starting to rot away.
It's it's amazing. Like the rest of the car isn't too bad, you know, but just the subframe. Hey, it's your song. We need to turn that down. I'm gonna get demonetized.
Okay. So anyway, this kind of put a wrench in our plan.
Yes, it did.
Have a really cool, weird video for you.
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, just turn that down a couple decibels, and then tell me about what you did with the.
Hold up, leave it. I'm gonna plug it back in. I just because it's,
you're plugging what back in?
Both O2 sensors.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to see if.
So you unplugged the O2s
just to try to keep it out of closed loop.
Yeah, understand.
To see if it would actually quit pulling fuel out, and see if it was misfiring because it was pulling so much fuel. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? Just trying to eliminate a few weird variables. One of them would be, you know, like say if the fuel trim was adding to that, if I just disconnected it and be like, look, you know what I mean, you can drive it home. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It still was.
It still did the same thing.
Really?
No fuel trim was backing out.
Really?
And it's still after about 30 seconds, it shut down number 3 and 5 this time.
It's seeing something else that's not fuel trim related that's initiating this then.
Yes. It's not.
That's a good test. I mean, as far as we were questioning that yesterday, is like, why would minus 20, you know, cause that? And
I just wanted to make sure.
No, it's great.
At first, I did the rear O2 just because we've seen fuel control cause really weird issues on rear O2s on these. But this isn't an AF sensor, so probably not.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I did the rear one first. It didn't make a difference, and then I did.
Let me get that side.
Then I did the front one. And I left them both unplugged. Yeah. And my fuel trim stayed at 0, but it still within 30 seconds went into that lumpy misfire mode. And then I'm only setting random multiple misfires. Yeah. But it's not misfiring till then. So
that's so strange.
Now I didn't graph bank 2 because when it starts doing that, the same thing happened. It was showing number 6 misfiring on my misfire monitors once it shut number 3 and 5 down. So is there a cam crank sync error where it just doesn't know?
I mean, it has to know. It's doing that. That process is being initiated by the engine computer. It's shutting. It's not liking what it's seeing, and it's shutting injectors off.
But we're not seeing that on the 0 cam.
I know.
Desired.
I know.
Maybe it doesn't know where it's at, so it's not telling you.
I don't know. This one's weird. This one's really weird. So you're all hooked up here. I can hook in right to here.
Well, if you want to use this as your lead.
I don't care. Yeah. You're a cam.
This is cam bank 1.
Yeah. Where's cam bank 2?
I didn't hook into it.
Okay,
we only have a 2 graph, but if you want to, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
We can either hit it here, or I could just hit it right down here.
Yeah, no, I'd like to grab cam crank on both, and that way, you know, if we don't fix it, we at least have the waveforms that people can look at, and then we can hear
that's what I want right now. And I'm like looking at that fuzzy picture, and I'm like, I don't know, you know. So.
And then the other thing I'd like to do too, like I said, is just a cranking compression test and just see what we have, you know. Yeah. So let me get set up, and then we'll do that. Using the 4425A Pico. Okay, amp probe, compression test. Connecting to the battery. I've done this a million times. If you don't know what I'm doing, I got plenty of other videos showing you that. We're gonna try to be quick here. I'm just gonna go over both battery cables because I can with this probe. And I'm filming on a tripod. Caleb's not here. This will be like old school, worse than old school because I'm less focused on the camera now. We can disable this system, keep it from starting, but I'm gonna try to do a clear flood crank which is just putting your pedal to the floor while you're cranking it. Hopefully it won't start. Gas pedal's on the floor. Ah, sweet. We do have a compression issue. Every other one. I don't know why I didn't think to do this yesterday. That's the one we want. Let's go back and look at that. I guess I was thinking yesterday, guys, you know, I know Danner and I were talking about scan data and stuff, and we kind of got lost in that a little bit, but just because of the way it was acting, and with the data that my brother shared with you guys today, even unplugging the O2s and getting fuel trim out of the mix, it still did its thing, and we just had a problem justifying what we were seeing because of the 0 degree actual and desired numbers on the cams. So lots of variables there that were making us question what we were looking at, what we were seeing. Then of course the low engine vacuum, you know, we're thinking timing still the whole time here. But what I just saw without looking at detail, it looks like every other hump is low, and that's gonna match the timing being off on one bank. So let's take a look. You can't be eating, come over here. At least you're not mic'd up, so I won't have to hear you eating. Danner mic'd up was the best thing we ever decided to do. So there it is. I mean, right there, your initial crank, and you can see, you know, every other hump is definitely different.
And so that's probably going to be that back bank.
Yeah, we'll confirm. We'll grab an ignition sync. We can put, for everyone's eyes here, just a couple of cursors in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and back to 1. And then you can see your three cylinders that, you know, got higher compression there, and your 3 cylinders that have, you know, kind of in that range there. Every other cylinder. So I'll grab an ignition sync for everyone while you're finishing eating, and then it would be nice to we'll get those 2 patterns, and then to get cam and crank in here too would be pretty sweet. We should be able to see it. I don't understand why the scan tool is showing me 0 degree.
I'm with you, but I mean that's the only thing that would make sense.
Well, I mean, for sure, and the fact that the second we go into closed loop and it's pulling fuel away is a suggestion too of this timing issue, and you verified cylinder shutdown is in fact from
I'm still suspecting it's from that, but it's not from fuel.
Well, we know cylinder shutdown is because the computer's seeing this. Yeah. It's not liking what it's seeing, but why is it giving us 0 degrees on the scan tool? That part I don't know, but this right here, I wish I would have thought it.
And why is it only, like you saw the cam, like this morning I went in there and I plugged it in, the only active code was the 0016.
I know.
And I cleared everything just to see what would happen with O2s unplugged.
Wait,
and it's only
0016 was what?
The cam crank correlation.
Oh, it did show that?
That
when?
was, no, on...
Yesterday.
No, this morning.
Oh.
That was the only active code, but history code showed all the misfires, so I cleared everything, and then it's going into the like limp mode or whatever you want to call it, with the shutting the injectors down, and it's only setting PO 300.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the 301 and 5. It's, you know.
Well, do we have to worry about like a stuck phaser here too? Maybe. I mean, this is cranking. Like we could unplug the VVT solenoids. I should probably do that to start. Just make sure
or you could just look at the graph, because if the VVT solenoid was stuck, you would think when you first started it, because
it'll move.
Back,
it would move
it never
on.
Moved.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean?
Yeah.
I stayed in the same spot from when startup all the way to where.
Yeah.
If you want to go in mine, but you'll do it yourself.
Yeah, no, I want to grab it here because I got a screen recording going.
I didn't see it move out of that window the whole time. Because the other one, if you were to like rev it, it would change a little bit with oil pressure.
Yeah.
I didn't try revving it, but from startup all the way through, it's not like I watched that cursor move. The sync moves.
Right. So it was the same cranking. It was the same with it running.
Not in a solenoid in my mind.
That Nissan did that to us.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, the fact that it's not, it's showing you zeros maybe at the beginning, it's just not happy at all.
What if it was stuck mechanically all the time? That's not the case. We've watched the graph move when the desired changed. So as I revved it, I watched the desired change. We watched the cam degree change.
It just doesn't know, and it's just barfing info at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm on the fence with that.
All right, let me grab a sync here. I'll grab, this is a coil on plug ignition, so probably the easiest way for me to do this, maybe amp clamp on one of the coil wires. The coil primary I'm talking about. Caleb, you would be proud of me. I have my sack. What cylinder is that? Number 2 up front?
Should be.
Can you clear flood crank that for me? That'll work. Oops, I didn't mean to change that to 2. Oh, I like that. I couldn't do that before. On the older Pico, like I set the 2 amp when I paused it. You can't change the scaling once you freeze the pattern. And now I can. I don't have to redo the capture. That's freaking awesome. I did not know that it was like that on this. Love that. The guys that are involved with Pico are like top of our field, man. Seriously. Unbelievable what these guys do and what they know. I'm glad to be associated with them. I really am. All right, so our sync, you see the higher ones. Let me put a cursor in for others to see.
So that's number 2.
That's the number 2 cylinder that's synced off of, yeah. And then our lower.
You want to know the firing order, right?
We do need the firing order, but it is the other bank. I mean, so we know right away. I think this capture, as you guys are watching me here put these in, like this is the one we want to focus on. Let's yeah, right here in the middle of the screen, there's your high low pattern. Every other cylinder, cylinder 2 is the one that the red trace is for.
You have to complicate when you're ready.
Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
It is.
Nice. I mean, there it is for sure. So that's 2. So the next one, that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So
Still don't know why the strategy would only be shut down 2 injectors unless it's...
Look, the strategy on this whole thing is messed up. We already know that. But that's going to be my low engine vacuum too. We were talking about that yesterday, using the map sensor for vacuum. All right, so next up is I want to do cam crank in here, piggyback in my grounds. We'll find out from Danner what he has connected here in a minute. Danner, when you're done, come help me. All right, while we're waiting on my brother, show you guys what I did. So I'm gonna grab the crank sensor here. These will be my 2 cams, and then I'll leave my number 2 cylinder sync. I'm not sure if we'll use that or if I'll throw the cranking compression one back in. I'm not sure yet, but this will be crank 2 cams. All right. I'm not going to be able to show you all that well where I'm connected. The front cam sensor here, that's going to be my blue channel. The crank is my green channel. And then the back one my brother had already connected to, this is jumper wire. That's going to be my yellow channel. And then I have my amp clamp still on cylinder 2. All right, starting it up here, people. So there's our waveform. Are both of these cams, I mean, what we don't know is like what it should look like. Like here's your big fat one on the blue trace, and there's your big fat one on the yellow trace. Like if we're looking at, the patterns of them, but like I don't know.
We don't know a known good.
I'll search the Pico database, see if I can find us a known good. Is it possible that they should be the same? It wouldn't be that far off. I wouldn't think that it would be that far off. We're looking at the trailing edge of the blue trace. Let me put a cursor there for you. In relation to the sync notch of the crank. And so the sync notch of the crank, the green trace. So you're looking at that frame in between there. It's like 1 tooth over the trailing edge of that. Then look at the same thing on the front cam. It's like dead nuts in the middle of the sync notch, 360 degrees later on the crank, the next sync notch. And that honestly would be, it's 1 tooth on the crank is what that's showing, Well, it's 1 tooth of the crank sensor signal, maybe 2 teeth, like distance wise, the equivalent of 2 teeth. I need a known good is really what this boils down to. I know you guys want me to do in-cylinder waveforms and things like that, but guess what? Can't get to them. I'm not pulling the intake off to do that. And I'm honestly not very good at the vacuum waveform analysis, so I'm not doing that either. This is enough though, in my opinion, to sell the job in light of saving my memory card because I don't have much space left. I need to shut down while I'm looking for a waveform. I'll bring you guys back in a minute. Got some awesome stuff to share. Sean Hill, my man, my freaking man.
So you actually found it on a Google search?
Well, the nice thing about what I do is having the social media presence is I'm connected with so many people, and all these different people always invite me to these groups, like automotive groups. So it's a Facebook group that's automotive waveform exchange, and it's known goods only. So it's not full of bad ones. It's just simply a database. Nice. I'm just ecstatic that, is that the right word, that I found this, and all I did was search. You can see my search results was Kia 2.7.
That was it.
That was it. That was all I put in, and I found this one from Sean Hill. It's a 2011 Kia Rondo 2.7 VIN L. Can you check my VIN number real quick here? What's the, I don't know what VIN L would be. I don't see an L.
We don't have an L.
Oh, I'm sorry. The 2-point VIN L. I can't read. It's 2.7 liter L. VIN 6.
We got a 6.
Okay, so ours is a VIN 6. It's an 08. And so I pulled up his waveform. Fortunately, too, Sean was using a Picoscope, so I can pull it in, manipulate it, do what I need to do with it. And before I forget, there is a Pico waveform. When you own the scope, you have access to their waveform library. And so I did search the Pico waveform library first, and they did not have this 2.7. They had like...
Can you add that to it?
Well, I could, but this is Sean. This is Sean. So I would need... Well, I could do a known good, known bad. I'll have to talk to Sean and see if I can use his waveform and then contribute to the Pico one too. Because I want to do that. But very nice capture. It's actually a lot better than mine. Like he filtered it and everything. Yeah. But what I did just initially...
Look how they just line up there.
Oh yeah. You know, so, but the one we want to look at so everyone else is following is this trailing edge right here, right? That's the one we were looking at in relation to the sink notch. And you can see it's like almost 2 teeth over from the sink notch,
and we
right?
Were dead center.
And then the other one was the red trace. Now I don't know which bank's what for him, but I just wanted to compare them both. And then look how it aligns too. Exactly the same as far as the relation to the sink notch. And we were dead nuts on. And that's when I said, when you were on the phone, I'm like, bingo, this is definitely off. No question about it. Bank 1 is off. Right, and these match what our bank 2 shows. So
whether or not they want to fix this, you have what you need. To
I have
a good video.
Absolutely, I do.
You can say thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean, and honestly, the automotive waveform exchange. But I want to be clear. I also want to thank specifically the automotive waveform exchange, which is known goods only. This is a private group. You need to request to join. This isn't for everyone. This is exactly what I needed, and honestly it's motivation for me to try to help this group out more and give my known good waveforms. I don't touch as many cars as I used to, so that's kind of a downfall, but man, did that help me tremendously to have not only a known good, but it to be a Pico file too. I can also show the two together, and I'll kind of clean mine up and I'll contribute to Pico as well. But I want to show you guys. Here's mine again. Bank 1, yellow trace. Look where it's aligned.
Yeah, it's like 2 teeth over.
Blue trace, bank 2.
That's where it should be.
That's where it should be. And then if we look at Sean's waveform, which we can just pull right up to, you see it. I'll line this up the same way. I don't know which bank's which on his. It doesn't matter. They both line up.
Yeah. Looking
right here on this one, on the red.
So on my end, though, I still have some variables.
You do still have some variables on your end, which is it the chain part or is it the belt part? And then I guess
part, then it's going to be the chain part or a phaser part.
Do we also have to consider the phaser? So at this point, we may, let's be clear, the customer might say no at this point.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about disassembly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there any test I can do electrically for the phaser? There isn't. Like we need to pull the valve cover to get to the phaser to physically see. And for those that are thinking, well, maybe it's the oil control solenoid sticking, guys, remember what we did yesterday with the oil, watching the VVT move the command and the...
But do you trust that when you don't see it? So what you could do is take and find the control wire on the solenoid and just energize it with it running and see if it moves. You know what I mean?
Because we don't have a bidirectional test to do that.
Not on mine. Maybe you do on yours, but I did not see it on mine.
I mean, it moved on the scan tool, but I'm with you. Like, do we trust it because it showed us that they were good? In fact, Bank 2 was the one that bounced more when it went into its injector shutdown mode. All right, just real quick here, guys. Danner's busy, so I can't bother him anymore, but this waveform, so I'm in the Pico program, and there's a waveform library. It says it's still in beta, but what I did is I entered, I kept it simple, just did Kia, and then I entered 6 cylinders because I put 2.7 and I didn't find any. And what the results showed me was I have 9 results of Kia, and there was a 3.5, there's a 3.5, 3.5, 3.5, a 3.3, a 3.5, a 3.3, and then at the bottom is a 3 liter. When I have time, I'm gonna figure out how to upload this waveform to the Pico, my bad one, and then I'll see if I can get permission to upload the good one from my friend from the Automotive Waveform Exchange that I mentioned. So there's a few other things that we're hoping to clarify for you guys, which is maybe a stuck VVT actuator. We can't answer the questions as why the scan tool is giving us 0 and 0, telling us everything was in alignment. Can we trust the data given when I raise the RPM, we can see the graph of the actual cam position degrees change with the desired, they matched. Can we trust that data given that it was showing us 0? I don't know. We have some unanswered questions. I think the next easiest step, what my brother mentions, maybe pull the top 2 covers off for the timing belt and just have a visual inspection and go that route next. I think that's what we're about to do. So coming up, hopefully coming up, yeah, coming up. Where's my bro Ham? I was talking to my Kia expert friend.
Okay.
You gotta come out here so we can be on film.
Okay, you're looking for a response from me now, huh? Am I getting into timing chains and camshaft?
Yeah,
I am.
We're getting into probably a camshaft.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What he said is when he's seen this, and he's seen it a few times, it's always the back head for some reason, the one that's under the manifold, never the front one. And he said the gear walks on the chain, like the actual, so it messes up the, he doesn't remember because it's been a long time.
It's a tapered fit.
He doesn't remember if it's keyed or if it's tapered, but he remembers that the camshaft in the gear gets replaced for this problem. Which probably means we're
junk in the car.
We're done.
Yeah. Well, you got.
No, I mean we're good. I mean I know my community wants to see it and wants to prove it, but I can't. We got to pull the intake and pull the valve cover off to show it. You know, we can still line up the marks on the front, but I think we're wasting our time just given.
Only if you line them up and they're straight.
Right.
If this one's on and that one's on, then you're back there.
Right.
No matter what it is, you're back there.
Correct.
And you're talking 135,000 mile Kia with a rotted subframe.
Yes.
That's going to need
a
couple grand worth of freaking
work.
But
John did say that, you know, when he's done these, this motor's die hard. This is one of their best platforms that they've ever made, the 2.7, this model. And when they did them, they didn't do I said, well, would you do the front cam too, you know? And he said no. They would just do the back one, the chain, and, you know, of course, they get a timing belt and all that. But that's what we're looking at on this. And to prove it, like you said, I
still have to say if these are on, then we got to go there.
Yes, our two marks in the front on that side. If those are on, we got to go back here. And he said he's never seen any kind of phaser issues on this model. Oh, and he said, you know, I asked him about the scan down, and he agreed that was weird, how it was reacting.
Yes.
But he did say that, you know, maybe because it's so close that, you know, it's not picking it up.
And that's why it's intermittent is when it does it?
Well, I mean, we didn't see it when it coded, so, you know, maybe it is at times interpreting it as 0, and then other times it's not, and we just never saw that moment. But it's clearly off all the time. It's not like this is intermittent. It's off all the time. Yeah. So the front one, I guess we have to move the serpentine belt to get the front cover off.
There's one bolt here. I just didn't. It's right where my finger is. And then that'll come off. And then if we
that back lower one, I got to try to see if I can get that off.
If we can just peel this back away just to see the mark, maybe. No.
Maybe.
No, but there's one right in front of the tensioner that this one should come off. I
want to get those off, try to at least line up the marks for everyone and to show them that they're aligned, and our problem is back there exactly like my Kia expert friend said. But he said he's done these before, more than one, and it was always the back head for whatever reason. He said it's weird because they're designed the same. It's no different than the front head. What would it be? I don't know. Heat? I don't know. Okay, so wait, back up again. I just turned my camera back on. You said this motor was discontinued in 09.
Yeah, 09 should have been the last year, like 09, 010.
Okay, and then the gear, it comes like with the camshaft. It's pressed on. Yeah. It comes with the camshaft.
Yeah, so if you have a failure over there, you're gonna see like you're not gonna be off time a little bit. If that like gear fractures off that camshaft, or something happened over there, you're gonna be like, be way out.
I'm not way out. We're just barely out, like to the point where the car runs pretty good as long as the computer doesn't enter that shutdown strategy. You know?
I mean, you sure you don't just have like a stretch belt?
Well, that's what we're taking the covers off right now to verify the front part. But if those marks are on, then it has to be in the back end on the chain end, and it still could be what you're talking about. And so that it's the intake. Gear and phaser, that's all one piece, or are they separate?
You're not going to have like a phaser because it's not.
No, it's VVT, like it has variable valve timing, so there's got to be some mechanism on the gear. You know, it's got an oil control solenoid and everything.
On a 2.7?
Yeah. Yep. That's what I'm saying. Like we had, you know, actual and desired cam position. This is a VVT engine.
So we don't have, our 2.7 is not VVT.
Yeah, this one definitely, and this is definitely a 2.7. Like I'm looking right at the label under the hood. It's a 2.7. It's a VIN 6, right? Is that what it was, Danner? VIN 6?
Okay, that's some different version that we don't have then.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, most of like Hyundai and Kia engines are all exactly the same, but that has to be something.
Oh, that's right. And you're primarily Hyundai, right?
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is like it's the same animal, but I guess it's not. This is a variation. But if you were seeing a non-VVT 2.7 gear walk on you, who's to say that this one wouldn't too, you know, or couldn't, you know?
Yeah, it still could too. Yeah, our 2.7's just missing. We don't have that on ours. we don't have. There's no cam phaser over there.
Okay, got it. Okay, but you do remember the gear and cam coming together, so that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks, buddy.
But like I said, with it just being off a little bit like that, you might just have a belt issue.
Well, let's hope so. We're pulling the covers right now, so for this customer's sake, let's hope so.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Because that's a super easy timing belt job.
Yeah, for sure. Then maybe Danner will be able to get a sub.
I think I
a subframe. What'd you do?
I was trying to just see if there was any belt tension, and I heard this pop.
Did you just make the belt skip?
I might have.
All right, John, I gotta go.
All right, guys, have fun.
Okay.
Later.
All right, bye.
Me.
What are you doing, man?
No, I was just trying to see if it was only this far away, so I was just like,
I know,
I heard clunk, and I don't know if I heard. Did you hear it?
I know, I heard you.
Mother puss bucket. What you
wait, no. Good. Now you can talk.
May or may not know is I had like 1/4 inch to go to line up the timing mark on this front bank, and I grabbed the cam and I tried just gently wiggling the cam to move it 1/4 inch, and I heard this snap sound, but it didn't sound like it jumped the tooth. It almost sounded like I was off a rib because I moved this belt out of the way to get the cover off, and it sounded like the belt snapped into here, but I wasn't quite sure. But in my opinion, if I was pulling on this cam, I'm pulling tight on the water pump side and on this cam, so
Yes.
any jumping that would have been done at the crankshaft.
Yes, yeah.
Because I would have collapsed and put too much slack. And looks like my crankshaft's on.
Yep.
It looks like my bank 2 is on, and I'm off definitely 1 tooth on bank 1.
So we'll just rehash that. We just won't tell anyone what you just did, because then they'll question what we're saying. I believe you that we're okay, that nothing happened and it was the SERP belt, but the fact is, right?
Quit laughing, Bob.
Well, no, I mean, it definitely raised the red flag for us there for a second. But the fact that our back cam, I have to see what you're seeing here on the camera, but it looks like just our timing belt is off, which is really, really great news for, honestly, for you, for everybody. For you, Danner, to make some money on this job, and then for the customer that it's not the mentioned walking gear on the back on the Hyundais that are non-VVT.
So to prove this totally, I really need to take the crank pulley off and get to the real timing mark. But if you look down there, you'll see a heavy...
Okay, but I want to see your front. Okay, so there's your front mark.
Right here.
Yep. And then the back one. So it does look like, at least from my angle...
Then it should be on this tooth.
Correct.
Not that tooth.
Correct. So 1 tooth off on the back gear, which is great news. That's what we were thinking. Heck yeah, man. Timing belt's off a tooth.
You're not even seeing the mark there. There, perfect, right there. You can see it.
Yeah, man.
It's off a tooth.
That's it right there.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Now, if you look down here, you can see on the timing cover itself that the dot on the crank gear.
On the cover, can't tell what that says. Is the big mark the one? It is like right on. I mean, I'm a little bit to the right, like my angle.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
but,
for sure. But really, to be sure, I don't want to trust a plastic cover. I want to look at the actual mark on there.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that. All right, so we're gonna take that bottom cover off.
Yeah.
All right, just real quick here on this. So that painted mark that was painted, that wasn't the mark. It's the notch in between. You see that notch? It's like heavy paint to the left of the notch and a little bit of paint to the right of it. That is aligned exactly with that middle piece. Okay. And then your front cam, again, perfectly aligned. And then your back cam. Any final word we want to say, Danner?
I'm still doing the same timing belt job I was last night. You came in the middle of the night to help me start on that timing belt job.
So we don't have an answer on why the scan tool was reading 0. My friend did say he does trust. Well, he was misled on the VVT part, so I don't know that we can use that. But he said that he's never seen any issues with data as far as the VVT, you know, advancing and retarding, and it did exactly what it was supposed to do. Why is it not picking up the degree offset with 1 tooth clearly off? Can't always rely on scan data, man. Scope was key.
You said it only monitors that at idle, right?
It said that, yeah.
But does it only monitor at idle after it would advance the cams and then realize?
Did you just fart when you went?
No, that was Bill doing something over there.
You were like,
no, but like maybe when the cams advanced, maybe it knew that it was adding a little bit more duty cycle to that solenoid to get it target, and then it came back to 0, and then it might measure it.
You know what I
didn't
didn't look at was the duty cycle command.
I don't know if
I don't think it didn't give it to me, that's why. Okay.
But it might be internally monitored.
Well, you know, clearly, but here's the thing. Clearly the computer, and this is to you guys, clearly the computer knew that there was a problem on that bank because it's turning injectors off within seconds of startup, right? Even
Depending how warm it is.
it's also with the load too. I could keep it from doing it when I turn the AC on. It's sitting there at idle. Yeah. Weird stuff. So some unknowns, but definitely what we have is a belt that is 1 tooth off on the back. And from this point, I don't know if the job's gonna get sold. Remember, it's got a rotted subframe, so we may not know exactly why the belt jumped, whether it's a tensioner or not, most likely that, just to rehash what we saw in this Kia. is negative fuel trim numbers on one bank. Timing belt confirmed to be 1 tooth off. VVT actuator on ScanData, both desired and actual, matched all the time. Sitting at idle, 0 and 0, yet the cam is 1 tooth off. The cam design on this is one where we're driving the exhaust cam with the belt, and then the intake cam is chained to the exhaust cam. And it's the intake cam that does the VVT stuff. The computer, even though we were seeing the actual and desired match each other pretty much all the time, the only time we would see any variations was when the computer would shut injectors down and it was idling real rough, and we'd see some fluctuations in the actual. But even though ScanData showed them to be matched all the time, there was a fault code for bank 1 cam crank correlation. And in that code, we had to believe that code, even though we were seeing data that was telling us otherwise. ScanData is not everything. It is a guide. Learn how to do scope testing. That was key here. I mean, sure, we could have seen negative trim numbers in the cam crank correlation code and you could have pulled the covers off. That's great. I mean, and this is an engine that you're able to do that on, but on some engines, that's not possible without complete disassembly. So learn how to do this. Cam crank waveforms on a scope, the Picoscope, amazing, amazing tool. The waveform library that they offer with the tool, awesome too. And then a Facebook group, bunch of my friends, Automotive Waveform Exchange, known good waveforms. Props to you guys for the help there. Great case study. Look forward to bringing this one to you guys. Another thing to consider when you run into a problem like this is we had injectors that were being shut down. Intentional shutdown of fuel injectors on that bank from a timing belt that's off 1 tooth, where the desired and actual degrees again on the scan tool showed us that it wasn't off, but the vacuum was low, 16.5, not real low, but 16.5 to 17, and injectors were being shut down. And those injectors were being shut down independent of the fuel trim issues that we were seeing, as my brother proved by unplugging the O2s, forcing an open loop mode all the time. But yeah, hopefully we can get you guys an update. If not, this was enough to fill you in on a great case study.
And you'll make money on it at least.
I'll make money on it at least. That is correct. We'll see you guys, hopefully, an update on this. If not, we'll see you next time. I'm back. That hurt. I guess I don't really need Danner for this part. What he ended up doing was pulling the tensioner off. That's what I just yelled over to him about this. It's not for this car, but he pulled the hydraulic tensioner off and slipped the belt back a tooth and put it back in. And what we were both talking about off the phone, or on the phone off camera, was why did it slip? Because he didn't see anything wrong. The tensioner still had tension. Even when it was unbolted, it was difficult to pull out. And we talked about maybe heat being a factor. We're not sure. The problem is where we are with this car. The customer doesn't want to do the job. Given the rotted subframe and everything else involved, spending $2,000 roughly on this car is not what the customer wants to do. They found another car for their son, and so we're just going to wrap it up. But I do have the opportunity to show you guys after map sensor readings and after fuel trim readings. We can talk about why and how that jumped a tooth in the comments, but it is not something we're really gonna know for sure. If you were gonna do this job in the field yourself, you would definitely wanna do the tensioner, you would definitely wanna do the belt. And my brother had mentioned another pulley inside there that maybe there was an adjustment on, and that's why I need him over here to clarify that part. So there'll be some unknowns for that, but still a really good, valuable video as far as injector shutdown goes and as far as negative fuel trim numbers go. And then one more piece too is the cam signals desired and actual matching on the scan tool, man, that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow there. But still a really, really good lesson in going with your gut instincts, which is, you know, this thing feels like and looks like the timing belt's off a tooth, and it was. And then also that cam crank correlation code. You know, why couldn't we duplicate the code when the belt was off all the time? Again, up for debate. We can talk about that in the comments. Why were they at 0? You know, desired and actual on the cams. Again, we can talk about that in the comments. But great lesson on using your scan data to your advantage. Great lesson on using a lab scope to your advantage and having a known good waveform. Again, special thanks to my friends on the Known Good Waveform exchange on Facebook. But anyway, need Danner over here. I'm sorry guys, I'm not hooking the lab scope back up for this because the cam crank waveform, I got you a good one. In the where we wanted to be was exactly like 1.5 teeth over from the.
And that's the picture I showed you. I didn't save it.
It's not a big deal. I'm not going to do that.
I had it running for 10 minutes and it never.
We have the serpentine belt still off, but this is timing belt driven water pump, so we can run it.
You can run it. Yeah, all
so we'll
just will be on, and I have the crank pulley on so it won't slip off. You know what I mean? So I had it running.
Show them that, like your setup, real quick.
I still got to put it all back together, but I have the crank pulley. Can you see it?
Yeah.
The crank pulley holds the belt from walking off the front. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then there's, I think the one tensioner pulley might have a notch on it, but I didn't want it to slip off.
And you mentioned you mentioned another pulley in there that maybe there was an adjustment on.
I don't think so. After I looked at it, see that one there, this offset right there. A lot of times when you see an offset pulley like that, there's like an Allen key where you can adjust it and lock it in. Like I did an old Saturn where I had to adjust them a certain way to pull the actual timing marks. There was one in between the but looking at that one, it's just an offset pulley. That's all. I thought it had one there, but it doesn't.
So it's just the hydraulic tensioner. That's it. And they don't want to do the job.
And they don't want to do the job because of the subframe. They're gonna easily have $2,000 in this. You know what I mean, with that, and it's not worth it to them. And I said, I don't fault you for it. You know what I mean?
Is this a young kid that drives this?
Yeah, they're a kid. And I was like, listen,
did he over rev it?
That's what I said. I said they shouldn't jump anyway, but was there a chance he was in a traffic event where he merged on? I tried to make it PC and not say, is your son racing his car? And I said, did he like pull onto a highway and merge real heavy and then have to stop real fast, or did he was he spinning the tires in gravel and it was shuddering? And and she's like, well, I'll have to ask him. You know what I mean? I never got the answer, so I don't know why it happened. So you know what I mean? I would assume if I would want to do the timing belt, all of it.
Yeah.
I would guess that the tensioner probably has a shock, has a weak spot in it, and under certain scenarios.
Maybe temperature too, possibly temperature. Who knows? I mean, the important part for us though is the injector shutdown variable, the fact that we had a cam crank code, but the cam signals actual and desired were at 0, and it was all the time. It's surprising that code didn't set all the time. So we got what we needed out of it. The repair part's not that big of a deal.
There's some people that are going to comment.
For sure, that's what I said. In the comments, we'll know.
For sure.
We'll know. Yep.
So we know what the outcome was, we just don't know why.
We don't know why, and we're not going to know why because the customer doesn't want to pay, which they just want to get rid of the car, and that's fine. Yep. That's their prerogative. So, all right, I can run it though?
Yes, you can.
All right, cool. Caleb will probably hate this shot, but that's okay. We can show the scan tool.
That's what he gets.
That's what he gets for not being here. All right, map voltage, 28.55. Remember, we were idling around 11.7 to 12 inches of mercury. Remember, subtract those two to get that number where we were saying we were around 16 and a half inches of vacuum borderline. And then the other number you guys want to watch would be the bank 1 short term right here. You can compare it to the bank 2 short term. There's your long terms right above. There's your map top right, and I'm gonna start it. Watch our O2s, watch our trims. Both trims on both banks are negative. All right, those look good. Initially, they went negative. Oh, let this warm up for a minute. Can't run it really too long. We do have a battery light on because the alternator is not charging. No belt on it. Look at your map vacuum though. We're at 8.9. We're at 28.5. So this is like almost 20 inches of vacuum right there. That number right there. So we started it at 28.55, I believe, and we're at 8.5. So yeah, easy math there, just 20 inches of vacuum. You see our trims look pretty good, right? Those 4 numbers right there. We do have the air filter sitting up a little bit. That can be a factor, but those look good compared to what we saw. The injection timing, I know you guys are gonna have questions on that, and why did we questioned it too earlier, why did bank 2 also go lean when we were shutting injectors down on bank 1? And the injection timing in milliseconds on the scan tool seemed to not really change all that much. If anything, they increased like from 1.6 to 2.5. And I don't have an answer for you on that. It's just scan data too. Again, it's not an actual measurement. And I'm watching these numbers right now on my injection timing, and they're bouncing between 1.6 and 2.5. So it's almost like, yeah, you see that bounce right there? You just don't see that kind of change. 1.6 and then jumps to 2.5, then back to 1.6. That's really not what you're gonna see if you're looking at injector pulse in an actual mode. So there's some variables there with that scan data. I'm not too worried about that. We are absolutely at 20 inches of vacuum. That is great. And trims look good. These numbers look great, man. I like it. We're calling this a fix. I know the community appreciates this last final piece. So even though the customer didn't want to fix it, it was nice that you slipped the belt back in there for us. Danner, thank you. Well, thanks, Danner. You're gonna close this one out, not me. So special thanks to Danner. Danner's the man.
Stay.
Nothing. You just stand there. I'm talking.
You talk. I
yeah.
just sit here.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
So we'll see you next time. Thanks, Danner.
See you next time.
Okay. But I'm here again without my cameraman. Cameraman Caleb, he's having a baby today. It was supposed to be yesterday, so it's today. It's happening right now as I'm filming. I'm gonna be Grandpat. Granner Danner.
Are you gonna tell me what her name is yet?
No, it's still E. It starts with an E. We don't know. They're not sharing her name.
I'm telling you either.
No. Egbert.
Egbert.
So Caleb said they just moved us to the labor and delivery room, starting her on her meds in a little bit.
Nice.
These rooms are indeed soundproof. However, I am right by a vent and can hear a woman giving birth, so that's a nice touch. Caleb's having his baby. There she is. Look at her hair. Look at her hair. And Caleb. Look at that sassy face right there. That's her mother all day long. I was just telling.
Bring a fan too?
I did bring a fan. Here, you want some too? That's gonna like probably be like. I need a beard to. Yeah, you can't be talking to me while you're eating. You just sit there and be quiet and eat your hoagie.